Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA strategy show, bright and early here on the East Coast, talking four-game basketball slate. Not a typical one by any stretch of the imagination. This is not some par for the course type strategy show where you just rip through every team, no problem. Couple questionable spots. No. You got the trade deadline, but some massive, massive trades that came through in the middle of the night, late last night, and somehow almost all of those teams are on a four-game slate for Thursday night. So glad to have you here. Make sure, listen, Josh Engelman, going to be doing the NBA trade deadline show. Alex Baker, Adam Scherer going to be doing the deeper dive. You got live before lock after that. You got to be around today. You got to be around. You got to understand what's going on. Anyway, I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the Twitters. Hit your boy up and say hello to Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. What's happening, man?
Added bonus for the trade deadline show with Josh is I believe he will be high on painkillers.
Oh yeah, why is that?
He has a mouth surgery this morning.
You don't need painkillers for that, man.
I mean, do you think Josh is going to turn down painkillers?
No, I don't. That's a fair point. Fair point. Yeah. I had that. I had two of my wisdom teeth extracted while I was awake, and they had already erupted. Like they were in, right? But I needed to get them taken out. I was like 25. They didn't give me anything after. I told them, listen, probably best that you don't. You know what I mean? Let's be real here. They offered.
Yeah. When I got my wisdom teeth taken out, I remember they sent me home with painkillers. I took them that day. My mom hid the bottle from me. I never found out where it went.
Yeah. See, that's where you and I are different. I would have found that bottle.
Yeah.
I would have found that bottle if it was the last thing I did. We had problems. But you know what? They hit me with the nitrous. That stuff, man. I'll tell you, short-lived, but whew.
Yeah.
Good. Oh man, what a time. I remember going to concerts. So you walking through the parking lot or going to games and stuff, and you hear the cops come around, people are selling balloons, $5 a piece or 5 for 20. And then you hear the cops and then the clink, 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 clink as they hide the tank under the car. Those were the days. But no. We're good on that stuff. Hopefully, Josh, I might have to tune in. I have a feeling he's not gonna. I have a feeling I don't know.
You have a feeling he's not gonna what?
Be dosed up on painkillers.
Yeah, I don't know.
It
seems like the perfect excuse for Josh to do pills and then do a show.
What's this surgery he's undergoing?
I don't know. He might have just made it up so he could take painkillers.
Yeah, right. It's like a routine cleaning.
Right. Yeah. I went to the dentist. That's why I took a bunch of Vicodin before the show.
Yeah. They gave me perk 30s.
Right.
Anyway, happy to have you guys here. Should be a fun show. Listen, we're not going to be able to discern everything on this show, but for those, a decent amount did happen throughout the night. You don't have the Spurs or Toronto on this slate. The Jakob Poeltl trade went down as well. There's plenty of stuff going on, but we could definitely look through all of this and do our best to kind of navigate it earlier in the morning, 10 o'clock here on the East Coast, 7 o'clock for some of you guys on the West Coast. We'll make it work. We got 4 games. It should be a fun slate. I mean, there's no doubt, though, Adam, that this is one of, and we get these sometimes with the trade deadlines where it does kind of feel like a late March, early April slate, because it's not that guys are just resting because the team sucks and they're playing the younger guys or they've already locked up playoff positioning. But when you're shipping off like 3 or 4 players in a package deal and you're not getting anyone back to play that day, there's no other option but to play guys big minutes that would normally maybe not even crack the rotation.
Yeah. One thing is, I actually think, and I mean, we saw it yesterday, a lot of times that the Wednesday slate from a DFS standpoint is actually crazier because you get the mid slate trades.
Yeah.
Like yesterday you had that strategy piece where it was like, well, do I hold out and just hope that this trade goes through and I just get the whole Minnesota-Utah game? Do I play the early value? So there was strategy there. At least here, we're gonna know all the trades before the slate starts. So you're gonna have value. We already know that. But at least you're not gonna have to make any decisions like, oh, well, this guy might get traded, he might not, and it's gonna change everything.
Dude, I remember sitting up in the DraftKings club box like years ago for a Sixers game. And this is when they were like Sam Hinkie days. You remember the Sam Hinkie era where
Tony
they were
Roten.
always, what's that?
The Tony Roten era.
Yeah, Roten. Yeah. Henry Sims.
Oh, God, I
But
forgot about him.
I remember sitting up there, like a bunch of DFS players, and I can't remember who it was, dude. It was a Sixers player. Maybe someone will remember. You might even remember. It was a Sixers player, very popular that day, and he gets traded right after lock. Like it was. It must have been prior. It was prior to the deadline, but it was like only a couple days prior, and everybody was just furious because it was locked in. There was no like, okay, we'll unlock lineup so you could figure this out. Locked in. I think it was like 7:03 that people watching everything watched him get up from the bench and just walk off to the tunnel and never came back. And then the reports came that he was traded.
Do you remember the Harrison Barnes game?
Yeah.
When he got traded but didn't get traded?
Yeah. That was another one. Yeah, it happens. Happens a lot. So like you said, you're right. We'll at least know. We don't know everything right now. But I mean, 2 blockbuster trades already took place.
Last night, you mean?
Yeah. I'm saying like, a lot of times that's the funny thing about the trade deadline. Everyone gets real excited about like what's going to happen on Thursday. A lot of the times, a lot of the times you're going to get a lot less happening on Thursday.
NBA usually better than most though. Like baseball, you get amped up for it and it's just like, yeah, cool, nothing really happened. Like NFL, it doesn't even really, it's not even a thing. NBA, you at least, there's just so much drama in the league that you usually end up getting good trades.
Well, let's get into it, baby. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. We try and read and respond, very least read all of them. And if you're listening in podcast form, hey, leave a rating, a review, all that good stuff goes a long way. Subscribe to the pod, tell your friends about it as well. It's trade deadline day, baby. A whole lot going on, and we're here to get you started off on the right foot. Let's talk about Denver and Orlando. Nuggets laying 6, 232 total against the Magic here. So, what's weird about this Jamal Murray thing? It seemed like we were just, you and I did a show the other day where we go, he probably plays. We don't know. It seems like maintenance, but then it moved to knee inflammation. And when you're getting something like that, you have to at least begin to question whether or not this was just a couple of days of maintenance or he's actually dealing with something a little bit more serious.
Yeah, and one of the Nuggets beat writers yesterday tweeted that Murray was questionable today, but mentioned the inflammation being the issue and said that he fully expects them to be cautious with it. So, I mean, fortunately, this is the first game of the night. We don't have to spend time guessing what's going to happen with Jamal Murray later on, but it does seem like a much more questionable tag than normal with Jamal Murray.
Exactly. It seems like this is not something where you're like, okay, he should definitely be back today. If he isn't though, like how many minutes are you giving to a guy like Ish Smith? And then of course Brown, but Ish Smith closed out last game in a blowout, but came in early in the first quarter, actually played, semi-significant minutes in that game before it was completely out of hand. What do you make of the point guard rotation in the event that Murray sits?
Yes. I mean, we know, an actual interesting piece here too is what if they don't trade Bones Highland? Is he back in the rotation? Like if Murray doesn't play and Bones Highland is still on the team, is he back in the rotation?
Right.
Or not? So that's a really, really big question mark.
And if he is back in the rotation, does he get like the majority of those minutes?
Right. Like no matter what, I expect Bruce Brown, if Murray is out, to start in place of Murray. And that's what makes it even more difficult. It's not as easy as saying like, oh, well, Highland's not in the starting lineup, so he's still not playing, because you would expect him to come off the bench anyway. But if he's going to be in the rotation, you would expect him to get enough minutes at 4K to be a good option. If he's not going to be in the rotation, you would expect Ish Smith to probably get enough minutes to be interesting at 3,200. So it's going to be a really tricky spot. If he's out though, again, I do expect Bruce Brown to start. He got injured early in the game the other day. He ended up coming back, but that was a big reason, along with the blowout, why he didn't play more minutes and didn't produce better. At 4,900, if he's starting in place of Jamal Murray, he's certainly going to look good.
I hope Ish Smith gets traded.
Also possible.
You know why?
Because he's played for every team in the league.
I just want him to get to all 30.
Yeah.
That's all. He's played for Nuggets, Wizards, Hornets, Wizards again, Pistons, Sixers, Pelicans, Sixers again, Thunder, Suns, Bucks, Magic, Warriors, Grizzlies, Rockets. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that is a lot of teams.
Guy's played for 13, and he's played on several teams more than once. You would think with that, he's been in the league for, like, when do you think he came into the league? You'd think at least 32 years.
Yeah, I mean, what's it been, like 12, 13?
2010, yeah. I saw that. 2010, yeah. Let's get him to at least half of the league here. But anyway, okay, so actually, let me back up for a second. Let's take a little bit different approach here. You have Giannis, who's probable against the Lakers. By the way, congratulations to LeBron James and then losing that game to the Thunder at home.
I was very happy. That played out perfectly for me. Like he got the record
and then did nothing.
And then he did nothing. There were a bunch of teams just like about to chase me down in tournaments with LeBron, and he did nothing. It worked out great.
Crazy. Did you win that? Did you have a big night?
Yeah, I won. So it was Tuesday. I won the $200 3 max on DraftKings.
Nice. So how much up top?
10K.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah, because he had 2 more points after that.
Yeah, like it was like, oh, well, I need LeBron not to get, like 60 or something. And he had like 51 at the end of the third quarter or something, along 52. And it was like, oh, well, this isn't going to go well. And then it's like, oh, LeBron's on the bench for the next like 6 minutes. And then they subbed him out with like a minute to go too.
I still think it's absurdly dumb that they stop games and do ceremonies.
I mean, I wasn't watching, so I didn't really see any of any.
Oh, it's so stupid, man. Like,
I mean, for stuff like that, I get it.
No, bullshit. Get rid of it. That's insane. Like, no, you can't, dude. It's third quarter. There's a couple seconds left in the third quarter. It's a 103 or like 104 to 99 game with OKC leading on the road, and they're like, all right, let's take a big break. That doesn't seem insane to you that you stop a game to do a ceremony? Like, do it before the next game or something. I don't know, dude. To me, it seems ridiculous.
I don't know.
I thought the same thing with Curry too.
I like it because you get the like pure emotion of the situation as opposed to like everybody, goes home for 48 hours and comes back and pretends they still give a shit. Like, I don't know. I've always thought it was cool. Like for me, the first like clear example of it was when Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's record, and you just stopped the game and he's like lapping around the warning track. But like it was cool because like you see the players from the other team like celebrating it. You see like actual emotion. Whereas like if they just waited till the next day, it would be like, yeah, cool, that happened last night.
Nah, hate it. Someone's it's a 38-year-old. You sound like a hater. I don't care if the record's 400 years old, dude. I just think it's dumb to stop a game. But
like I would think it was dumb if like there was a record like this getting broken every year and you're just constantly having this happen. But like it's a very infrequent thing.
Okay. One guy says you act like it's a regular thing. You're a hater. All right. So next time someone breaks a single game record that's been standing for 72 years, right? Like single game record, I want us to stop the game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if they did stuff like that, I'd have more of a problem with it. But like when you're talking about career milestones and breaking records and stuff, like they just don't happen that often, and they are huge things. Like I enjoy everybody being caught up in the moment, with the exception of Anthony Davis. Did you see that?
What?
Anthony Davis just not giving a shit at all.
Good for AD, man. That makes me like him.
You didn't see the like?
No, I didn't see it. I saw like the whole ceremony. I saw everything. I didn't see that.
Well, that would be because he was sitting down on the bench behind everybody. But like normally when you get like out of context clips, it's like I think it's dumb to read into it. But it was really bizarre. Like as LeBron has possession and he's going to score, you have everybody on the Lakers bench up, and AD is just like sitting on the bench, just like no emotion, kind of watching. Like he scores, everybody goes nuts. AD's just sitting there, like no emotion.
I gotta watch that. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Look, do I actually care? No, it's a regular season game, but it doesn't do much for me. All right. Anyway, let's get back to so what I wanted to say somehow got sidetracked a little bit there. People, by the way, no better way to rile people up than to say like anything disparaging against LeBron, which I didn't even do there. That was just like, I don't like the whole ceremony. Like, or say really positive things about LeBron. Like where Josh the other day was talking about LeBron being the best ever. It's so polarizing that no matter what, you could say something even very, very subtle and people get so fired up. It's really crazy.
No, I tweeted yesterday, and obviously I knew what the reaction was going to be, and that's why I did it. But like I tweeted yesterday about LeBron was better than Jordan before he broke the record, and now he's still better than Jordan. But like it's one thing if you want to argue, whatever, I disagree with you. But like the amount of people that like reply to me on Twitter and are just like assuming I'm like in love with LeBron or I love LeBron, like I don't care about the dude at all. Like doesn't affect me. Don't really have any thoughts on LeBron. I think he's better at basketball than Michael Jordan. Like I don't need to. It doesn't need to be like a take on, either I love the dude or I hate the dude or whatever. Like
who cares?
He's a basketball player.
Okay, I'm telling you, these people ride for these guys like they're their own sons or brothers or something. It's really crazy.
It's wild. Like
really crazy.
The amount of emotion
don't care about you.
The amount of emotion people can attach to people that they have never met and will never meet is wild.
It's nuts. And the funny thing, like if you're having a bar conversation at a bar, it's different. On Twitter, you're like, oh, you're a fucking idiot, right? Hey, dummy, right? But at a bar, you'd actually have a conversation. That's why Twitter is a pure hellscape, right? Because it's so easy for you to just talk to someone like you've never met before and, use every ad hominem in the insult in the book. Like, it's just way different. But whatever. Little off track. See, look, I'm telling you. See, fire people. Look at this. See, I'm telling you, all it takes is a LeBron is better than, or say it the other way around. Say it the other way around. You get the same response.
I mean, I don't want to lie to the people. I can't have that on the clip.
Well, of course not. But what I mean is you would get the same exact response just from a different set of people.
Yeah, you would just get younger people saying you're wrong instead of 50-year-olds.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But you have Giannis probable against the Lakers in LA. You have Jokic. You have LeBron, who's questionable. There are some expensive players, but it's not through the roof. Who do you like more today, Giannis or Jokic? It is crazy though, because Giannis's price point is just far ahead of everybody else now.
Yeah, I mean, both obviously are going to be priorities. Both are going to be easy to get to. We have them projected about the same, and you have a $1,300 discount going to Jokic. Obviously, Giannis has better positional eligibility, but with it being a 4-game slate, not necessarily as big of a deal either. So I think I prefer Jokic. Also, if Murray's out, Jokic certainly looks better.
Okay.
Because I mean, like they're projected about the same now with Murray projected in.
Exactly. Yeah. And Marv, I'm not saying it's not going to be a debate. It should be a debate. What I meant is that people take it way too personally for zero reason whatsoever. All right. So if we get back to Denver, though, and kind of break the rest of this team down, if you assume that Jamal Murray's in, it's Jokic. And then assuming Murray's in and not limited by any, like, I don't imagine if he plays, I think it's going to be fine. Otherwise, if you're trying to be careful with this guy, you just hold him out entirely. If he plays outside of Jokic and some Murray, is there anybody else that you like here against Orlando?
Not so. If Murray is in, not particularly. Jokic and Murray are the two pulling ownership right now. Gordon, Porter, KCP are all fine. KCP obviously the least exciting of the group, but he is only 4,400. Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. both look okay, but they look good if Jamal Murray is out. Same with Bruce Brown. If Jamal Murray is in, though, I think it's pretty much, you're building around Jokic, you're getting to some $8,200 Murray, and then last piece in type guys on Gordon, Porter, KCP.
On Orlando, Markelle Fultz still sitting at a pretty decent price point. Wendell Carter Jr., I know we talked about him a bit last game. Disappointing performance in that one, but he still played 31 minutes, so that's not bad. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. His playing time has been kind of erratic, but these are the type of dudes up top right now on this team that are getting a little bit of love. Paolo Banchero. It's not the greatest matchup. It's Orlando, a team that is for the first time in a while, and they have been for probably a few weeks now, actually healthy outside of a questionable Gary Harris today. For a 4-game slate, and only 8 teams. This isn't one of the more appealing teams. Not to say that you can't get there, but I think it thins out pretty quick with Orlando.
Yeah, it's just there's not one guy that really stands out. You do have 21% ownership on DraftKings coming in defaults because he's only $5,700. That's too cheap of a price tag, just given that you're getting 30 to 32 minutes from him on a pretty consistent basis. He's around the fantasy point per minute guy. It just gives you a solid projection on him, makes him a good play. After that, you have about 10% coming into Wendell Carter Jr., Paolo Banchero. They're both just like correctly priced. You should get 30 minutes or so from Wendell Carter, makes him look fine. But where he is center only, obviously there's an opportunity cost attached as well. Banchero at 7,500, pretty much just the correct price tag for him. Should give you 33 or 34 minutes. Franz Wagner, I don't know if I've ever actually seen a good Franz Wagner game, but at 6,300, he projects as a decent play. Nothing special, though. We actually have him projected just behind Markelle Fultz and Wendell Carter Jr., even though he's more expensive than both. So not any sort of a priority. Jalen Suggs is typically getting around 20 minutes a night now at 3,500. Probably not really the slate that you need to go there for value, though. So I think Fultz is the best play. Carter and Banchero are the second best plays. And then if you end up with a little bit of Franz Wagner or Suggs, that's fine, but it's not anything I really care about.
All right, let's talk about Phoenix and Atlanta then. So Phoenix Suns, we just saw a blockbuster deal take place overnight. Now, before we get there, Devin Booker, they're managing this groin thing. He's out. Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet, still all of those guys out. But then in that Kevin Durant trade, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Jay Crowder, who wasn't playing, but he's included in this, were sent to the Brooklyn Nets. So now you're looking at a team that is the identity of this offensive lineup is a whole lot different than it was even just a couple days ago or yesterday. So let's get into this one. First things first, how much do you want to take away from the game that we saw last week, right? Where Cameron Johnson was ruled out in the afternoon. You still didn't have Devin Booker back. You did have obviously Bridges that was playing, but aside from Bridges, all of the other guys were out. And you saw Damian Lee play 27 minutes off the bench. Torrey Craig played 19 minutes. Saric played 30 minutes in that game. What do you expect to see today?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a decent place to look. You didn't have Booker in that game, but you did have Bridges. So,
yeah, right.
You can kind of say, well, Booker is Bridges. Probably not for as many minutes. You only got 26 from Booker in his return. Bridges,
but you also don't have Booker today either, is what I'm saying. Booker's out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had missed that. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's basically the same thing minus Bridges. So everything else.
No, you're right. I'd missed the Booker was out. So yeah, you can certainly read into that quite a bit. And that's why you're getting so much production or so much ownership coming in here. Like, you have Booker and Bridges. Bridges isn't a high usage guy, but he's still around 18 to 20% when Booker doesn't play. So you're taking both of those guys out. Now you have Chris Paul at a reduced price tag at 7,300, going back to being even more involved, even a bigger, better fantasy producer. So he's going to look really good, even though he, always would look decent. But Dario Saric has been, when they're shorthanded, has been getting minutes. Like you said, in the game on the third, he started and played 30 minutes. We've gotten a lot of starts from Saric this year where he plays like 22, 21, but those have been games typically where they're not quite this shorthanded. So I think it's likely, that he is getting around 30 minutes. He's really cheap. He's a good point per minute guy. We have him projected for 28 minutes right now. It makes sense to me. So he's projected to pull 79% ownership on DraftKings, but I don't really even have much of an argument against that. We have him in the optimal lineup 66% of the time, which is just an absurd number. Josh Okogie at 3K flat, shooting guard, small forward, should look really good. He's not been in the rotation as much recently, but again, you had Cam Johnson back, you had Bridges playing. Okogie, somebody that can play multiple positions. Guys like that are always really appealing to me when you get a shorthanded team where you don't know exactly how the rotation is going to go, because there just end up being so many different ways that Josh Okogie can fit into the lineup. He's also not a bad point per minute guy. So at 3K, he's going to look good. 3,200 for Damian Lee, pulling 72% ownership. You mentioned it, in that game against Boston, he came off the bench, still played about 27 minutes, 26 outside of garbage time. At 3,200, that's certainly going to make him look good. Torrey Craig should play more minutes than normal. He's only 4,100. DeAndre Ayton gets a bump with no Booker. All of those guys just look really, really good. Ish Wainwright's 3K as well. He's been ahead of Josh Okogie in the rotation. He's not as good a point per minute guy, so that's why Okogie still projects a little bit better, but you certainly can get to some Wainwright as well. You're just going to be really building around this team tonight.
Do you think Ayton would also see a boost without Bridges, just given how Bridges was more than willing to chuck when Booker was off the floor?
Possibly. You're still talking about like an 18 to 20% usage rate on average for Bridges. And
yeah, it was 19%. I don't know what it was with Booker off the floor and Paul and Ayton on.
Yeah, so I mean, it's possible we see a little bit of a bump for Ayton. I don't expect it to be too much from Bridges being out.
Ayton coming off that real nice game a couple days ago.
Yep.
Was it 2 days ago? 35 and 15 against the Nets. He's coming off 2 30 and 15 games. 25% right now. He's still sub 8K going up against Atlanta. It's going to be tough to go wrong here. How many, like on a 4-game slate, we have to be willing to just jam a lot of Suns into lineups and not be too worried about that, right?
Yeah, I don't really see much of a way around it, especially like when you talk about the other team that we know. So like we have Brooklyn and the Lakers are the two teams on the slate right now that we know just made significant moves as well. But the Lakers didn't give anything up that, affects DFS. And the Nets kind of didn't either because like they gave up Durant, but he'd already been out. So you have price tags up on the Nets. You have the Nets actually getting Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith today. So the Suns are like the one team right now on this slate where there was a big trade that happened and it opened up a bunch of minutes for guys.
You don't think Westbrook affects DFS?
I'd actually forgotten about him.
Yeah, he's on the Jazz now, dude.
Well, kind of, but yeah, no, I mean that does, but like you're still, I don't think it's going to have a big impact on the Lakers though, because you're probably just going to be getting more minutes for guys that are useless when LeBron and Davis are, or when either of them are playing.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. Of course. I guess the question would be we'll wait till let's wait till we get to the Lakers because we got plenty of time to talk about this one. But do you have any spots on this? Was probably an important spot. We could dig in a little bit more in the deeper dive when you're with Alex, but are there any spots? I don't think there's any clear stay away spots on Phoenix among the guys getting ownership right now. But are there any spots where you go, hey, listen, I don't really want to play this guy and this guy in the same lineup?
Not really, I don't think. If you were gonna worry about that, I think it would in some way revolve around Josh Okogie because like he didn't play in that game against Boston the other day. Like I said, he's been behind Wainwright in the rotation. He's been behind, Saban Lee. He's behind Damian Lee. I expect him to play today because Bridges being out just opens up so many minutes. It's basically like, again, that Boston game, but then with another 38 minutes from Bridges available. So I expect him to be in the rotation. But if something went sideways and he didn't play as much as people are expecting, I assume it means that like Saban Lee and Ish Wainwright are just playing more minutes than people thought they would. So I don't know, maybe like a max 2 of those 3. But other than that, I don't really care. They're all just so cheap.
All right. Hey, I don't know if it's Metrics or MetRX808. Welcome to the team, man. It's a good looking badge. And hey, $50 super chat from Memo. Thanks to both of you for your advice on DFS last few seasons. Help me stop being a broke bum. I'm just a bum now, aren't we all? Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks to you, man. Thanks a lot. That's awesome.
That's awesome. My advice. So yeah, my advice has made me broke, but I'm not a bum because of all the shit that I bought when I was winning. So.
Right. And you can sell it all at
right.
a fraction of what you bought it for.
Exactly.
And then when they finally start enforcing those new tax laws for Venmo and PayPal, you'll have to have receipts for all of that so you don't get taxed on profits for something you took a loss on. It's all good.
Yeah. If anyone's looking for watches and shoes, keep an eye on eBay.
Yeah, and 5 flat screens.
Yeah.
Anything else for Phoenix?
Maybe an apartment.
Yeah.
No, nothing else.
Hey, it's a beautiful view.
It is. Yeah, nothing else from Phoenix.
All right. How about Atlanta here? Trae Young's at almost 30% ownership, and then it just falls off a cliff. Like DeJounte Murray His price came down from last game, which was just a crazy price point. Collins and Clint Capella are cheap. DeAndre Hunter's cheap. Bogdanovich is cheap. I'm not saying cheap in terms of like where he should be, but just cheap in relative to the slate. It is funny how you look at this team now, the way that it's constructed from a salary standpoint. It's two guys above 8,500 in Murray and Trae Young, and then everyone else is just sub 6K now for Atlanta.
Yeah, and there's only one guy that actually looks mispriced, and that is Trae Young at 9,100. Not entirely sure how his salary came down, but he's down to 9,100 now. Just going to be a very clear, good option to get to. Gives you around 35 minutes a game. We know he's a good point per minute guy. Nothing really to dislike about Young at that price tag. Also going up against clearly a shorthanded Phoenix team as well. So I really like Trae Young. And then you just get a bunch of secondary options here, whether, it's trying to pivot from Trae Young to DeJounte Murray and hope that, you win that one more than 1 in 4, 1 in 5 times like the ownership dictates, or going to Clint Capella at 5,900, John Collins at 5,200, who has been terrible, but should play around 30 minutes here. DeAndre Hunter at 4,900 gives you 32, 33 minutes. Nothing outside of Trae Young looks like a priority at all here. I think it's kind of just mixing them in as low-owned guys in individual lineups, with the exception of certainly getting to a lot of Trae Young.
All right, we got 2 down, 2 to go here. Thanks for hanging out with us on trade deadline day. Also, remember, Josh Engelman, he's got the trade. What time is that show at, Jordan? Do you know? Are you producing that, or is he self-producing that? 1:30 Eastern. All right. Awesome. Yeah. That's Josh Engelman. I'm sure I'll have some people on. They'll have some fun. And then you got the NBA deeper dive live before lock, 6 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock. That's going up through 7:30. So stick around for that. Also, one other thing, Josh and I, man, we spent some time talking about prize picks yesterday, just with the videos that he's been doing, the optimal way to do it, like 5-for-5 flex, or 5-player flex lineups. Way to get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value, first match deposit bonus up to $100. All of that. If you got to use the link, otherwise unfortunately, when you DM me being like, yo, I didn't get my free month or my deposit bonus yet, but I signed up. And if you're like, did you use the link? And they're like, I think we can't retroactively do anything. If you're trying to take advantage of all the tools that we have on the site, from top to bottom, right? For every sport, not just basketball, like Super Bowl coming up, ton of tools for that. The best stuff you're going to find: basketball, the boom bust tool, boom bust tool, ownership projections, the player projections, all the projected stats, all the bit of data you need, or PGA, MMA, whatever it is, we got you covered. It's $120 value. You don't need to win top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more rocking the Stokastic avatar to get in the Hall of Fame segment that we do in order to get the free month. You just need $10 and to click that link, you're getting up to $100 deposit bonus, match bonus, 100% of that up to $100. You're getting everything on the site, on our site, for the first month, including our Discord. No strings attached whatsoever, because we want you to win. We want you to stick around, and we think that you will win. In order to do so, we talked to Prize Picks, said, look, we'll do a free month. You got the $100 first match deposit bonus. We'll sweeten the pot. All you're doing is taking props, putting them into a lineup. Say you got 5 props you love, right? Patrick Mahomes, by the way, they got a free square. So all he needs to do is throw for a yard, and that's locked in. So if you got a 5-player lineup, you got him locked in already. If you hit 4 of 5, unlike a traditional parlay at other books, you're still 2Xing. You're still making money back if you only hit 3 of 5. Maybe a guy suffers an injury, gets in foul trouble, you had the over or something like that, gets ejected. Doesn't matter. You're still making money. You're still getting money back on those type of plays. You hit 10X if you hit all 5. If you do a 6-pick flex play, you're hitting 25X. It's awesome. It's an awesome place to play. That's why it's blowing up, and you're getting a free month, everything that we've got on the site. So check it out, and check out Josh's video on our Odd Shopper channel. Every day he's doing a prize picks video to get you set up. He's been tweeting them out as well. So across the board, we're not just saying like, hey, sign up and then screw you. You're on your own. No, all the tools you need, all the videos you need for prize picks to win and to sustain a bankroll and to get some big wins. All of that is at Stokastic.com. All of it's here on the YouTube. All of it's over at Odd Shopper. So check it out. Link in the description and in the chat. All right. Let's keep moving here. We'll talk about Chicago and Brooklyn. Yeah, so the Brooklyn Nets at home against the Chicago Bulls are 1-point favorites, 227.5 total. But let's kick it off with Chicago. DeMar DeRozan questionable here. We'll see if he's going to be active or not. But obviously, Adam, that's a huge piece of a 4-game slate if he ends up sitting.
Yeah, it's really big, and it affects a lot because if he's in, you just sort of get neutral plays on him, on Vooch, on LaVine. You don't have anything cheap that stands out for Chicago. But if he's out, you're likely to get Alex Caruso in the starting lineup. He's probable. He started last game, played 26 minutes. So you would have him at 3,800 potentially starting and playing 26 to 28 minutes. You get a bump in production for Zach LaVine and Vucevic. Obviously, LaVine killed a lot of people last slate while Vooch rewarded the 5% that went to him instead. But the upside just becomes massive for both of those guys. And they would both look like really good plays. Whereas right now with DeRozan projected in, they just look like guys that you get to as secondary options. So really changes a lot. You also, have a 4K Kobe White, who is completely uninteresting if DeRozan is in and mildly interesting if he's out playing 24 to 26 minutes probably. So certainly changes quite a bit. Also, if DeRozan is out, you're likely to have Andre Drummond in the rotation at 3,300. If DeRozan is in, it becomes less likely because it just gets easier for the Bulls to play Derek Jones at the 5. I don't know at this point if they would what their plan is with Drummond, if they're going to keep him in the rotation or not, but certainly feel better about his minutes if DeRozan is out.
What do you think? What do you think if DeRozan is in? The approach that we would take with Chicago, do they become a much more difficult team to get to?
Oh yeah, like if he's in, I think it's just like you play some Vooch, you play some DeRozan, you play some LaVine, but not as priorities. It's just if you're playing 150 lineups, it's a 4-game slate. They're all capable of giving you one of the best scoring games on the slate. So like you're going to be trying to mix them in a little bit. But we have with DeRozan projected in on DraftKings, we have DeRozan with a 12% chance of being optimal, LaVine and Vooch both between 10 and 11%. If DeRozan's out, Vooch and LaVine both probably get bumped. LaVine in particular, probably like 25-ish%. 30% somewhere in there. Vooch would be a little bit lower since he's center only, but they clearly just become much, much better plays if DeRozan's out, whereas they're just secondary options if he's in.
Vooch is absolutely crushing the last 2 games too.
He's been playing big minutes lately too.
Yeah. Well, he only needed 24 minutes to get to 50 the other day. But yeah, he played 37 minutes in that loss to Memphis, 28, 17, and 6. He's not a bad playmaker either. I think he gets slept on. Like he can give you 4 to 6 assists a night, but he's expensive too. And but the thing too, like on the other side of this game, and this is why I think it'd be a little bit more difficult to get to Vooch. You look at some of the center plays. I understand this is only a 4-game slate, but there are some good center options today. I mean, like Jokic being one of them. And I'm not even talking about power forward center. I'm talking about like straight center eligibility. We talked about Ayton without Booker, without Bridges, without, most of this team. And then you have Claxton's just been really good, man. I know he's not going to give you a consistent like 37, 38 minutes every night, but this guy just continues to rack up solid numbers and his stock rates are through the roof.
Anthony Davis too, center only on DraftKings.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, LeBron's questionable today. And normally when LeBron's questionable, I just read it as probable. I feel like he's actually questionable today, just given I don't know if he's gone to sleep after the other night yet. Yeah, so
true.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if it's just I'm not playing today. So you could.
And then Davis becomes just an extraordinary play.
Right. Like Davis is a really good play anyway. He's one of the best plays on the slate. Like it becomes a real tough conversation. Like if Jamal Murray's in and LeBron's out, it becomes like a tough conversation. Like, do you want Davis or do you want Jokic? So, I mean, that's just another ridiculously good center.
I agree. I like Claxton though. Looks good. Just looking at his ability to rack up the number, like as a center, I love centers that produce in this sense. Sure, he doesn't have the highest usage rate, but not everybody can be, Joel Embiid as far as usage goes. He's efficient. And at 7,600, I think this is still a nice price point to get to. Do you want to do anything okay, so let me ask you this. Claxton, we agree, is a solid option today. Once you get past Claxton, now that Spencer Dinwiddie is going to make his debut following the Kyrie Irving trade, Dorian Finney-Smith is expected to play as well. How much, I don't necessarily know. But this team looks a whole lot different than it did even last game. So How do you kind of sift out all the shit here and try and figure out who's viable and who is? Oh, and Cam Thomas is now almost $8,000 coming off 3 straight 40-point performances.
And I assume coming off the bench now.
You would think, right?
We don't appear to even have him projected to play, which
well, hold on.
Trouble believing.
Hold on. So the starting lineup, we know you're going to get Claxton in there. I mean, you have to think it's Dinwiddie as well, right? You have to think Dinwiddie's the starting point guard, right?
Yeah. So my expectation for the starting lineup is Simmons, Dinwiddie, O'Neal today,
Claxton,
Finney Smith, and Claxton.
Okay. So I guess the one, I don't know if Finney Smith is going to start. That's
I'd
the
be
one
shocked
spot.
if he doesn't.
Really?
I mean, I guess they could say I guess they could go Cam Thomas for more offense and then bring Finney Smith off the bench. Like you would still have Simmons and O'Neal in the starting lineup. So
do you want O'Neal and Finney Smith playing alongside each other?
Right. Simmons, O'Neal, and Finney Smith all playing.
That's sketchy.
Together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Claxton, yeah. Because I mean, O'Neal and Finney Smith, you can at least move to the 3-point line. There's no point in having Simmons there.
No, he attempted 2 shots last game with nobody on the floor. He's resigned himself to the idea that he is not playing basketball anymore, and he's just coasting at this point.
They could also just bring O'Neal off the bench too and replace him with Finney Smith.
You could do that, yeah.
In the starting lineup.
You could do that.
Either way, I think Cam Thomas is playing. Our projections are going to change, but I would think.
Just looking at the options they have, I think him still starting is plausible.
I do too. If the starting lineup is not what I'd initially said, Simmons, Dinwiddie, O'Neal, Finney Smith, Claxton, I assume that Cam Thomas is the one starting and one of O'Neal or Finney Smith is coming off the bench.
Let's just say the lineup is Simmons, Claxton. I'll say O'Neal, Thomas, and Dinwiddie. Is there anybody outside of Claxton that you like?
Not particularly. I'm confused. So Terry said that we have him in for 33 minutes on the site, but I'm looking at the site and either I'm blind or he's not in. But anyway, yeah. So I like Claxton. He's easily my favorite option here at 7,600. He's been very good without Durant, without Irving. So still really like getting to him. Outside of that, there's not a ton that I love. Because prices have come up a bit. You had Kyrie or you had Durant out for so long, then you had Kyrie out. So O'Neal's at 5,300. That's not really doing a lot for me. Dinwiddie's already 8,100. We don't know exactly how many minutes he's going to play, exactly how he's going to fit in right out of the gate. If he's playing minutes alongside Cam Thomas, they are likely to cut into each other's production. It makes it actually pretty tough to get to this team with the exception of Claxton.
Yeah. Maybe, hold on, let me see here.
And there are likely some. I just saw somebody in chat say O'Neal's probably traded today. Yeah, I'd be very, 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 very surprised if all of the players currently on the Nets are still on the Nets when this game starts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm trying. Yeah, I don't see him either.
I'm looking at the NBA.
So
DFS
I see him under projected stats, but I don't see a projection. Do you?
So I see him on projected stats now.
But yeah,
there's not a fantasy. There's not a fantasy projection there, and
right.
And for for DraftKings, he's not showing up.
Right. Yeah.
Is he showing up for FanDuel?
He is.
He is showing up for FanDuel, so it must be he's probably Cam Thomas on DraftKings and Cameron on FanDuel or something. So we have him at 33 minutes. So it looks like our assumption is that Claxton, Dinwiddie, Thomas, O'Neal are starting, and then either Simmons or Finney Smith is coming off the bench. We have Finney Smith at 28 minutes. We have Simmons at 25.
Yeah, go ahead.
Seems reasonable.
It's a naming thing. Yeah, he's Cam Thomas on DraftKings. It's a naming thing. All right.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was like, there is no way that dude is just not playing today.
No, not at all. That would make no. Yeah, 7,800 still pretty insane, but do you think you'll get any Cam Thomas at 7,800?
If he's low owned, maybe. Just because like I don't know what to make of this guy. We know he's gonna shoot. That's what he does. They still, outside of Dinwiddie, don't have any scorers on this team. So there is still upside for him. It's just that he's insanely expensive. He needs to keep being efficient and he needs to keep shooting a lot. And it's a matter of how much is Dinwiddie going to step in and affect that. So like normally I would say like, yeah, he's a pretty interesting tournament play just because, we've seen the last couple of games, you wouldn't care if he was 7,800, you would still need him. And, Dinwiddie obviously lowers that expectation, but like that ceiling is still there. My concern is how many people just go to Cam Thomas again because of what we've seen the last couple of games. If you're getting a popular Cam Thomas at 7,800, I am perfectly fine just doing other stuff.
All right, let's keep it moving then. One more game. Milwaukee, LA Lakers. One more thing too for you guys. BetMGM, if you can't play at Prize Picks, free month, everything on our site. I just mentioned all of our tools. You heard me. I'm not going to repeat myself. I won't waste your time. But just know that Prize Picks is available in mostly non-legal betting states, right? Give you that ability to scratch the edge. If it's not available, because I saw some people in chat like, yeah, I can't play Prize Picks here. If you can't, you probably have the ability to play at BetMGM. All you need with the link in the description, we set it up super easy. You need 2 minutes and $10. You click the link, you put a bet on anything. Like, okay, for example, use Adam's Bet Pro video today on the Odd Shopper channel. Take his favorite prop, take the top prop, take your favorite bet, whether it's a side or total, whatever it is, throw it down there. If you win, you get paid out. You still get the free month of Stokastic plus Platinum. If you lose, you still get the free month of Stokastic plus Platinum, and you get first bet insurance up to $1,000, meaning that no matter how much your bet is, up to $1,000, could be 10, 150, 1,000. If you lose it, you're still getting everything we offer. The month is included, $120 value, but you're also getting all of that money that you lost on the bet back in bonus bets. So awesome, legit, no-brainer opportunity. If you want to get access in, once again, we want you guys to win. How do we do that? We say, all right, we want you to check our tools out. We want you to win. Here's the best way to do it. You put $5 or $10 down on BetMGM and you start winning. You can, use the tools in low stakes. Who cares? Use it in the quarter arcade. Use it in the end one. Doesn't matter. There aren't going to be a lot of people in those contests using these tools and paying for these tools. You're getting them for free, essentially. So no better way to build a bankroll and up the stakes than using these tools and getting them virtually free. So check it out. Link in the description and in chat. And remember, you must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, boom. Let's go to the Milwaukee Bucks here. Giannis, by far highest priced player on the slate. We'll kick it off with him, Adam. They are coming into LA the game after LeBron broke the record. What do you want to do with Giannis?
I mean, he's a good play. If you get there, great. There's going to be more than enough value. I'm sure you can fit him and Jokic pretty easily together as well, given what the Suns look like and what the Nets could look like by lock. So he's getting 32% ownership. He looks good. We talked about it at the top. I prefer getting to Jokic if I'm only playing one, but I would think I'm making a good amount of lineups to just have both of them. Very, very good spot for Giannis. Lakers are obviously an appealing matchup, especially right now before they get the guys that they picked up from Utah. Not that it's going to make them a good defense, but it'll make them better. So yeah, Giannis, like getting there. If I can only play one, I would prefer Jokic.
All right. Behind Giannis, though, you've got Drew Middleton, 5,500, small forward only, pulling a little bit of ownership. I mean, he played the most minutes he's played since returning from injury, dude, but it's 22 minutes. So if they're going to continuously very slowly ramp him up, the funny thing is, on a per minute basis, he's actually played really well recently.
Well, yeah, because they're getting him a good chunk of minutes where he's out there without Giannis. So that's, a very high percentage of his minutes are without Giannis. The one thing that's really interesting to me from last game, and I don't have an answer for it. So he played 21 and a half minutes, which my assumption is just like, yeah, they slowly ramped him up. He played about 22 instead of 20. He subbed out the same time that Giannis and Connaughton did with 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go in a lopsided win. Was he going to close that game? In which case you're talking about, 25, 26 minutes. And that makes a huge difference, because if you know for sure he's playing 22 minutes today at 5,500 against the Lakers, he's fine, but he's not anything I'm like too excited about, especially given the amount of value we have and how easy it's going to be to go stars and scrubs. But if you tell me the plan in that game was for him to play 25, 26 minutes, and that if tonight's game is competitive, you're getting 25, 26 minutes against the Lakers at 5,500, I'm really interested in him. So, I don't know what the answer to that is. I think expecting around 22 minutes is the most logical approach. Maybe, an extra minute or so. We have him at 23 and a half right now. I think that's a decent approach. In the first half of that game, he played the final 7 minutes and 24 seconds to close the second quarter. He played the final 4:47 to close the first. So, you got around 12 minutes there. It's also interesting, he subbed in with 7:52 to go, played basically the entire rest of the second quarter. He subbed in with 7:39 to go in the fourth, and then again subbed out with 3:40 in a blowout. It kind of looks like he was going to close that game, in which case he's pretty interesting here. So we do have 16% ownership coming in. We have him projected for 23 and a half minutes, which makes him look pretty good, 29-point projection. So I do like Middleton here. Yeah, good spot, decent price tag. Seems like the minutes are finally starting to get there.
What about Drew today?
I don't get the price on him. 7,700 just still pretty cheap. He's pulling 23% ownership. The thing working against him is that Chris Paul is even less expensive, playing without any teammates other than DeAndre Ayton. So, Paul's going to project better and get more ownership, but Drew Holiday is certainly a good pivot there. He's a very good play in his own right. Should give you 34, 35 minutes in this one. The more minutes that Middleton plays, the worse it is for Holiday, but his price tag is at a reasonable point anyway. So I still think that he's a good option. Brook Lopez at 5,600 is fine. It's a good matchup. He's cheap. He should give you 30 to 32 minutes, most likely. Played 32 even without closing last game, but on average, you're getting 30 to 32. The problem is just what you were mentioning before. You're not, starving for value on the slate. Obviously, there's a ton of it. So it's not like getting an underpriced Brook Lopez is like super useful. And he's competing with Claxton, Jokic, Vooch, Ayton, all these guys. So if you get the like 30 to 32 fantasy point game from Lopez at 5,600, it's likely not going to actually be that helpful for you on this slate. So that's the concern. It's just the opportunity cost makes it still tough to prioritize him, but does have a very high ceiling at 5,600, certainly capable of going for 35, 40, which you would actually be happy with.
All right, let's wrap this one up with the Lakers then. Put a bow on it, turn the page over to a lot more stuff coming up throughout the day. For those of you guys who are new to the strategy show, watching it after the fact, just know this is 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the East Coast. Things can change, likely will change throughout the day on trade deadline day, even on non-trade deadline days. So just keep that in mind. We're setting the foundation here, taking a look at everything, and appreciate you guys getting us up north of 100 likes. We haven't even mentioned it throughout the show to atone for the sins and help appease the YouTube overlords, but you do it anyway because you're good people and you care. Thanks. All right. LeBron James, questionable. You mentioned, I think you're right. This does kind of feel like a legitimate questionable, kind of the same extent we talked about with Jamal Murray earlier, except in this case, LeBron James just broke the all-time points record. If he doesn't play, this slate already was interesting. Then it just gets insane.
Yeah, it does, because Anthony Davis becomes like a huge priority, but this game is 2.5 hours after every other game. So
yeah,
hopefully we get LeBron news during the day. Otherwise, Davis is a really, really, really interesting tournament play, because worst case is LeBron plays and you're getting a $10,200 Anthony Davis playing, 34 plus minutes and looking pretty good here. Hopefully he's a bit more engaged than he was against OKC. But the best case is that you would just get an under-owned Anthony Davis, whatever the ownership is. Like if we don't have LeBron news at lock and then he gets ruled out, at 9:00 or something, whatever Anthony Davis's ownership is, it's going to be lower than it would have been if we had LeBron news. So, or that it should have been if we had LeBron news. So there is a lot of upside to Davis just added in because of LeBron's Q tag. So, going to like him a lot one way or the other. Somebody in chat said like, LeBron can't sit the next day after breaking the record or something. The dude sat out in the literal game where he broke the record. Why can't he sit the next day? He just took off for 6 minutes there. But I think it's a legit Q tag. And if he's in, I like LeBron. I like Davis. I have some interest in Schroeder at 5K, and that's about it. If he's out though, Davis looks great. Schroeder at 5K looks very good. Patrick Beverley's 3,700. I still would probably rather go to like Phoenix guys. Rui at 4,800 starts to look interesting if LeBron's out as well. Certainly opens up quite a bit more.
What do you think the distribution of minutes goes to with taking Westbrook off of the floor?
Probably more playing time for Schroeder.
Like, does Beverly play 30?
Yeah, like you could get 28 to 30 from him. You probably are just going to get more minutes. You know, Austin Reeves is back. There's more minutes available for him. Lonnie Walker hasn't been playing a lot, so he could play more as well.
Yeah. I only asked because Schroeder's already playing a lot of minutes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. It doesn't really do that much. Like Schroeder becomes, kind of appealing, but what's it really do for Beverly?
The problem is that it's not going to give Beverly more fantasy points. It can give him more minutes. He played 24 last game. If you want to say he plays 28 to 30 here, that's fine, but it's still Patrick Beverly. Schroeder played 30. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's still Patrick Beverly playing alongside Anthony Davis and LeBron James too.
Right. Schroeder last game played 30 to 32. He's somebody where I wouldn't be surprised if now you're getting 34 to 36 if LeBron's out. Obviously the production looks a lot better as well.
If LeBron is out, last question here, other than Anthony Davis, and of course I know these aren't important, but I will just throw it out there for those of you guys who are curious. It was Damian Jones and Juan Toscano Anderson that were also involved in shipped out of LA here. So again, not very important, but if LeBron is out, Anthony Davis obviously becomes a premier option, and you broke that down. Is there anybody else though, if LeBron sits, that would look really good now?
I think Schroeder would look good, not as good as Anthony Davis would, but I think Schroeder looks fine at 5K anyway. He's pulling 10% ownership with LeBron projected in. He projects for like 25 and a half DraftKings points in 34 minutes with LeBron in. But the problem with Schroeder is that in the games he's played with Davis and LeBron, he only has like a 15% usage rate. If you take LeBron out, you're going to have the ball in Schroeder's hands quite a bit more. And there's just obviously going to be more upside there. So I would say that he looks good. If LeBron is out, he looks fine. He looks okay if LeBron is in.
Hey, you can follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS. Check his NBA Bet Pro video out on OddsShopper. My Super Bowl best bets video is up already. Super Bowl 57, Birds, Chiefs. Gonna be a good one. That's up. You got Deeper Dive, Live Before Lock, Trade Deadline Show, all that good stuff. You can follow me at Loughy_D on Twitter, LOUGHY_D. And shout out, as always, to Jordan Klein producing this one bright and early on the West Coast. For real, though, pay attention today, and we'll be back trying to give you all the information you need. Appreciate you guys watching, as always. We'll see you back here tonight on the Deeper Dive. Peace.